Broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Like, just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Happy hump day, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. I'm Andrew Romanella. We're in the state of New Jersey. It's cold out, and we got a lot of sports to talk about. NBA trade deadline, NFL 18th game rejection, the Pro Bowl, or the lack thereof anything to fun to watch bowl, and some other things as well. The Olympics get started today, though the opening ceremonies are on Friday. You want to get in on the action, youtube.com/the Romanellas. That's youtube.com/the Romanellas. We asked that everybody head to YouTube and go ahead and subscribe, like, share it with a friend. It's super huge for the show. Facebook.com/the Rome Show, Twitter X, and Instagram, the Rome Show 1. Be sure to follow, be sure to share with a friend. If you don't like any of those, the Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcast. The NBA trade deadline has been popping off over the last few days, with the deadline officially coming to an end on Thursday. So tomorrow, February 5th at 3 p.m. There are some big names being traded in the National Basketball Association right now. And before we fully get into where those names are going, who they're going for, what team might be in a rebuild, what team isn't, it's super important to understand how we got here. Okay? A few years ago, the NBA implemented what I would call the extension of their postseason. Okay. Obviously, people feel there's a line of demarcation there. The playoffs are not the same as the postseason. Okay. So, for example, if you played 162 baseball games and you needed that 163rd game to decide the tiebreaker for the wild card, those two teams would not be in the playoffs. They would be in the postseason. Now, those two words have gotten jumbled up in the past, right? Because the usage of the word postseason in a lot of areas equates to playoffs. But nonetheless, the NBA wanted to expand the opportunity to make the postseason so that you could decrease the amount of teams that would want to quote unquote tank, or want to quote unquote rebuild, or just simply put, 40 games, 45 games into the season, you're staring down the barrel of 10th place and you're 8 games behind the 8th place team. 5 years ago, that's an easy decision. Let's sell if we need to. Let's get some pieces back and let's see what we can do. Who really cares if we're the 8 seed? We're about to get slaughtered right now by the 1 seed. Let's just move on with our lives. Now, the NBA play-in tournament has changed a lot. Now, you haven't seen a play-in tournament team go from play-in tournament to the NBA finals, okay? And I don't know how long it's going to take till you see that. I'm never going to say never, especially in sports. But I don't know if a team that makes it into the NBA play-in tournament is going to make it all the way. I don't know if that can happen. I don't know if there's too much that has to be done there. But nonetheless, when you look at the landscape of the National Basketball Association, 4 more teams have now been added to the conversation of contention. So when you look at the postseason as it currently stands, 50 plus games into this season, 60% of the way through, there are roughly, in the East, there are roughly 6 teams within 6 games of each other. And that's not for the last play-in tournament spot or not, that is to be the 7 seed, because 7, 8, 9, 10 are in the play-in tournament. So there are, in theory, okay, technically speaking, 12 teams that still have the chance to contend and make the postseason. Again, if you're the 7 seed, the 8 seed, the 9 seed, or the 10 seed, you're playing in the play-in tournament. 7 and 8 seeds need to win 1 game. 9 and 10 seeds need to win 2 games. So I say all that to say this: the NBA trade deadline has significantly pumped up in the last half a decade because of this. Because when you look at the standings, you can honestly stay where my team sits. If you are so far out of the play-in tournament that you can't make any moves, pretty obvious you're a seller. If you're slightly above that play-in tournament line, you know you got to make deals to get farther above that line. And if you're in the midst of that play-in tournament, you have to make a decision. Am I out of this or am I in this? But what has seemed to come true since this play-in tournament was invented is that teams want to get in. Teams feel that's way more important. And I do too. You know, at first I was skeptical. At first I thought maybe gimmicky. But now I see the expansion of parity. I feel like this is the most parity we've had in the National Basketball Association in a really long time. And maybe that's why. Maybe the reason we have so much parity right now is because so many more teams actually have a chance. So rather than feeling like you need to create these super teams, which we've talked about before, the Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, if you want to find that show, okay? But with the slow elimination of the super teams and the expansion of the postseason, you have opened up the NBA trade deadline to be a lot of fun. And this year, it is hitting a peak. Here are 3 major deals that happened yesterday in the National Basketball Association. And by the way, youtube.com/the Romanellas. When you go there to hit subscribe, you can also comment on the YouTube channel, Twitter X, and Instagram. The Rome Show 1, that is Twitter X, and Instagram, the Rome Show 1. Feel free to comment. We got a late start today. Late start on Instagram as well. So if our Instagram peoples are just joining us, welcome to the show. We're talking NBA trade deadline. So here's what happened yesterday. I think the largest move from the standpoint of the common fan, because of the name of the player, is James Harden being traded from the LA Clippers to the Cleveland Cavaliers in exchange for Darius Garland. Now, the Clippers, they're in an interesting place right now because they had Paul George. He just got suspended for 25 games. And they had James Harden, who was scoring 25.4 points per game, good for 15th in the league, shooting 42% from the field, 35% essentially from three-point land, and he's averaging 8.1 assists per game. So James Harden, late in his 30s, is playing some really good basketball right now. On the flip side, Darius Garland, as a complementary piece to others in Cleveland, i.e. Donovan Mitchell, has been really good. Second leading scorer on Cleveland to this point, 18 points per game, got nearly 7 assists per game, shooting 45% from the field and 36% from the field. So now you put Donovan Mitchell and James Harden together, and you kind of give Darius Garland the keys in Los Angeles, because with the suspension of Paul George, okay, and the removal of James Harden, you have a Kawhi Leonard sitting there who's played nearly 40 games this year. He's averaging 27.5 points per game and is playing some really good basketball. So once you lose Paul George, the Clippers make a decision. Okay, we're clearly not winning with this iteration. One, Paul George is a mess. That was an atrocious trade a bunch of years ago. Nonetheless, that's the first mistake. James Harden has played well on this contract, but as we've learned, James Harden is not good enough on a good team or on his own to win you a championship because it always really finds a way to never show up in the postseason. And Kawhi Leonard, ever since winning the championship in Toronto, has felt like a foreign superstar. Not foreign from the fact that he was born internationally, foreign from the fact that we know nothing about this guy. You know, when an international player gets mentioned during the draft and you're like, never heard of that guy. But I'll tell you what, maybe he'll be either the best player in the league like Nikola Jokic, or you'll never hear of him again. And it's just another player that didn't make it. Okay. That the last 5 to 6 years is what Kawhi Leonard feels like. Hey, remember when that guy was a superstar? Remember that when that guy won a championship for the Toronto Raptors? Kawhi Leonard led the Toronto Raptors and Kyle Lowry, maybe Bam out. I forget who was on the team. Like, he led them to a championship. Okay. And you almost forget about that because that 7 years ago was so long ago now. And Kawhi has done so little compared to what we expected. So maybe some fresh blood, some Darius Garland, some switches places might reignite. But right now you got LA sitting in, I think, the 9 spot at 23 and 26. They are a game above Portland for the last last play-in spot, and they are 3 games behind Golden State for the 8th seed. Nikola Vucevic, the big, really good center that's almost averaging a double-double for the Chicago Bulls, is now a Boston Celtic. He gets traded in exchange for Anthony Simmons, who now heads to the Bulls. Vucevic is going to bring some serious presence in the middle of the floor for the Boston Celtics, averaging 16.9 points per game, 9.0 rebounds, and 50.5% from the field. Simmons, essentially as the 6th man for the Celtics, is averaging 14.2 points and 44% shooting off the bench. The Celtics are 31-18 without their best player, Tatum, recovering from a torn Achilles, and they sit in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. 32-18. They won last night. They sit in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference, but really tied for 2nd with the exact same record as the New York Knickerbockers. For the Bulls, they're in that 10th play-in spot, and I think this is one of those moves that could go either way, right? Vucevic, great player. But with that great player, you're still sitting between seeds 6 and seeds 10, okay? Were the Bulls ready to win this year? I don't know. I've heard a lot of conversation about Lonzo Ball out. Are the Bulls good enough? Probably not. So this is an example of someone, I think, showing you where they don't care enough about the play-in, which is still going to be a thing, and they trade their best player. Finally, the Utah Jazz, they pick up Jaren Jackson Jr., the former Defensive Player of the Year and 2-time All-Star. Still has 4 years, $205 million left on his contract that he signed this offseason with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, they suck. No other way around it. They're atrocious, and they are about to be in a major rebuild, sitting at 19-29 in the 11 seed of the Western Conference. This all started when Ja Morant decided to be, pardon my meanness, I don't care, a loser, and carry a gun around and start not caring about anything. The downfall of the Memphis Grizzlies, as they are currently constituted, was Ja Morant being a clown, not acting like a role model. And now, just 3 or 4 years later, you're absolutely blowing up a team that I think was in the Western Conference Finals or on the precipice of it not too long ago. For the Jazz, they get a great player in Jaren Jackson. Not only is he the Defensive Player of the Year in 2022, 2023, he's averaging this season 19.2 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks. In return, the rebuilding Grizz get 3 first-round picks and 4 different players. They also get the largest trade exemption in the history of the NBA. If you're wondering what a trade exemption is, it was created by the NBA for teams making trades but also that have salary cap issues. So in the example of the Memphis Grizzlies, okay, they were making moves to give a player up, and they regained 4 players. And based on what their salary cap is, they almost need like an IOU type of way. A voucher is probably a better way to put it. They've now received in this trade a $28.8 million voucher, so they can make up the difference for the player that they lost. And that financial makeup does not count against their cap, something that the NBA put into play so that you're not just stuck in cement around the trade deadline making moves because you don't have any money past the salary cap. Now you have that. You made some moves, so the league gives you some grace. Therefore, you get an exemption. And in this case, for the Grizzlies, $28.8 million. That's a lot. 3 first-round picks, that's a lot. And that right there is your telltale sign they are rebuilding. We'll see what happens today and tomorrow. I mean, the trade deadline ends at 3 p.m. tomorrow. So we still got 29 hours of this, ladies and gentlemen. And who the hell knows what could happen in that time? There's a lot of teams in this league right now that have to make a decision. Like I said, when you look at the Eastern Conference, seeds 1 through 6 are only separated by 8.5 games. In the Western Conference, seeds 1 through 6 are separated by 9 games. 1 through 7 separated by 9 games. And at first you're like, they're separated by 9 games. Yeah, dude, the 7th place team is 31-20. The Minnesota Timberwolves are in 7th place, and they are 11 games over 500. Okay? The Thunder are 40-11. 7 teams within 9 games. That shows you some really good parity. I'm going to show you a quick commercial break real fast. Then when we come back, we talk National Football League because they rejected the 18th game on the schedule. And I have to be honest with the people. I think I agree. Plus, Lindsey Vonn skiing on a ruptured ACL, right? You heard that correctly. However, I've heard
I can't handle this too, Rocky Romanella.
Of a Rocky Romanella out there that might have done the same thing. So it is possible. However, I don't know if he was competing for a gold medal. He was skiing on a torn ACL. That's for damn sure. But competing in the Olympics at 41.
What is one thing every great leader has in common? They challenge their people to not stop at the first right answer. Tighten the Lug Nuts is a leadership book that will teach you how to move past the first right answer with entertaining and detailed examples founded in real-world concepts and experiences. Accelerate towards your professional goals with Tighten the Lug Nuts, one of the best leadership books available.
Yeah! Welcome back into the Rome Show on September 4th, 2026. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. Man, are we having fun today on this hump day? Hope you are as well. Remember, if you are watching on youtube.com/the Romanellas, first off, hit subscribe. I mean, come on, people. Hit that subscribe button, then hit the comment section. Let us know your thoughts. Not an NBA fan? Screw it. Right in. Tell me, Andrew, the NBA is stupid. I need you to talk about blank. Big fan of the National Football League? While we talk about the 18th game, give me your opinion. You could also head to Twitter X and Instagram, The Rome Show 1, and you can comment live there as well. When I'm on the Instagram backside, I can see everyone that joins. Okay, so I see the people hopping in. All right, Write in some questions, write in some thoughts. Give me some vibes. We're talking National Football League on the second half of the show. Why? Well, that's because the NFLPA came out yesterday with the want to reject the proposal for the 18th game in the National Football League. Here is what the NFLPA had to say. There's 31 owners. They all have different agendas and opinions on things. Reeves said when asked about the extra game was inevitable. Our members have no appetite for regular season 18th game. NFLPA interim executive director David White said at the union's annual Super Bowl week news conference. The 18th game is not casual for us. Great line. It's a very serious issue. It's something that comes out of negotiations, and nothing will move forward until players have the opportunity to account for all of these factors. Take that into consideration, and then through negotiations, agree or not to the 18th game. But as it stands right now, players have been very clear. They don't have any appetite for it. There's 31 owners. They all have different agendas and opinions. Maybe this is a way for them trying to influence. We have not opened to any 18-game discussion. It's not something that players are excited about or reality are trying to press for. Then we put in a lot of work and we put out a good product and there every week, and it's something we feel need for. So essentially, okay, executive director David White is essentially saying that just because the National Football League wants an 18th game, just because the commissioner's office wants an 18th game, just because the owners of the National Football League want an 18th game does not mean that the NFLPA is just going to be like, oh, okay, awesome, let's go and do it. And I have to be honest with the people here, okay? And maybe you can consider this a straight off the Rome. Do whatever you want. But I got to tell you this. Someone once told me that too much of a good thing can ruin a good thing. And I never understood that because I was like, dude, I love Skittles. If I want to keep pounding and eating Skittles, why can't I? Too much of a good thing is more of a good thing. That's at least what I always believe. Now, as I've gotten older, I understand that more than ever, okay? When you have something, for this example, it's an entertainment value. The National Football League is entertaining to the people. It is, as I've mentioned before, the Rome Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast, it is America's pastime now. It is the most popular sport in the United States of America with 9 international games going on in the National Football League next year. It's also growing to an insanely popular sport internationally. But it doesn't mean that forever this is going to be the trajectory. I bet in 1915, every single American thought, man, baseball is the greatest game in the world. We need more baseball. We got to have more baseball. Well, you screwed us because now we have 162 games of baseball, and that should not be the case. The 141 they played or 2 or whatever while Roger Maris was breaking the record, that was also too much. But baseball has already showed us over the course of the last 150 years that more does not always equate to better. More does not always equate to more fans. More does not always equate to an entertaining and exciting product for the fans. So for the National Football League, when you already have a scenario where people despise the preseason, but also people feel like the players aren't ready for the season, because of whatever the rules are now because of safety, you put all that in a mixing bowl and you're like, we're already playing 17 games. The month of September is a gross, atrocious football. You can never figure out how good your team is because they haven't had enough time playing together. But you put all that together and you're saying, but we'll take away a preseason game and we'll add a regular season game. In the sport that wants to make the conversation about safety often, especially over the last 10 years. Pretty easy to tell that if you add an 18th football game, those players are presumably screwed. Because right now, the 18th game is the first round of the playoffs. Think about how hard it is for a football player to get to the end of the season. Think about how hard it is for a contact sport guy, insert contact sport here, to play that sport on a consistent basis. Yes, in theory, it's a little bit easier for me to pick up a bat and play baseball 100 days in a row. Of course, I could never do that with football. Probably couldn't really do it with hockey either. Could I skate 100 days in a row? Yeah. But if I was playing a physical game, getting banged around, no chance. Playing 18 games in the National Football League would, as I would like to quote one of my favorite radio show hosts of all time, the play-by-play announcer for the New York Yankees as well, Michael Kay, says this would be franchise malpractice, okay, for the entire Shield. All right, this is league malpractice. If somehow this ever goes through, and it might, I have no idea, but I think you are starting the beginning of the end in the National Football League. No, do I ever think the National Football League is going away? No, that's not what I mean there. But as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to say again, we are watching it happen in Major League Baseball. Okay? Major League Baseball, early on in its greatest popularity, thought, let's take advantage of this by adding more. No. Continue to build on what you have. And sometimes the best decision is to stay status quo. Okay? People don't like that. People want to make a decision, see a result, and move on from there. But in this case, if you're the National Football League, much like the college football playoff, let's start pumping the brakes here. We went on this 15 to 20 year run where everyone was so ridiculously obsessed with football. We need more football. We need more football. USFL, XFL, AFL, GFL, DFL. We got 9 football leagues now. You know why they don't work? Because it's too much football. Spring football won't work because it's too much football. There is such thing as too much football, and the 18th game in the National Football League is going to present that on both ends of the season. That's the last part of this thing. So you're going to take away a preseason game in a time period with which we can all legitimately agree the preseason does nothing, truthfully, to get the team ready for the regular season. But because we've changed all of our preseason rules, the first 4 games of the season almost become an extended preseason for a lot of teams. Look at the Houston Texans. Starting 0-3 and then making it all the way to the AFC Championship game. Those things to me, the AFC divisional round. That right there is the example. And good, they made the playoffs. Awesome stuff. But they were not even close to the team that they wanted to be until they got to October. And that's not because necessarily D'Amico Ryan's the bad coach. It's opposite. Okay? It's opposite. In August, these dudes are not getting ready for a football season 100% the way they used to, which is probably the problem. And I'm not going to be a get off my lawn guy right now about what it used to be. It just means that since we're making all of these changes, why don't we look at the product on the field and say, will this change actually make the product better? Or are we making this change because we know people are going to come to this 18th game, so we get an extra gate? We get 9 home games, 9 away games. It's even. We get an extra gate. We know the people will show up no matter how bad or good our team is. I don't know. But I cannot find many logical reasonings for this decision to be made, especially on behalf of the players. Speaking of decisions, the Olympics technically start today, but the opening ceremonies, which officially, quote unquote, kick off the Olympics, are on Friday. I don't know if you've heard this story about Lindsey Vonn, but I got to be honest with you, this is wild. Okay, so she wrote in a statement on her Instagram all about what's going on. Here's her quote. I tried to find a dumbified version. After 3 days of physical therapy and doctor's advice, Lindsey Vonn has decided that she can ski on her completely ruptured, is the word, ACL. My knee is not swollen, and with the help of a knee brace, I am confident that I can compete on Sunday. So this is not obviously what I had hoped for. I know what my chances were before the crash, and I know my chances aren't the same as it stands today. But I know there's a chance. And as long as there's a chance, I will try. I will do everything in my power to be in the starting gate. Lindsey Vonn, 41 years old. One of the best United States skiers in history. She's got 3 Olympic medals, 1 gold in the downhill, and a bronze in the pipe, I believe, and then another bronze in downhill. So Lindsey Vonn, decorated U.S. Olympian, making the decision to ski on a ruptured ACL. Now, I mentioned this before the break. Again, no disrespect to my father, who I love to death, but he is not an Olympic athlete, okay? He is not competing for Team USA in the downhill. But that man can ski. He can ski really well. He can ski really big mountains. He can ski moguls for the most part. He can ski black diamonds, blue diamonds, double blue diamonds. The dude can ski. And he tore his ACL in Park City, Utah, home of the future Olympics, home of the past Olympics as well, a bunch of years back. And he proceeded to ski on that torn ACL for 5 straight days. Okay? And I think, I'm not a doctor, not even close to one, but my belief is the way that the skis are stuck downhill, the lack there of rotation on the knee might be a reason why this could be something that she accomplishes. I got to be honest with you. My initial read on this is Lindsey Vonn knows whether she was hurt or not. This is her last Olympics, right? Writing's kind of on the wall. I don't know if many 45-year-olds compete in skiing, but that's not the conversation. The conversation is Lindsey Vonn and the end of her career. And in her mind, it's not about winning the medals or not. It's maybe just about getting it done. So if she can get down that hill, even if she has the worst time by a long stretch, even if it's not even close that she has a chance to win, I think there's a pride thing there. And again, the fact that all good things come to an end, and this could be the end of her career. Curling gets it started today in the Olympic Games. And then tomorrow we have women's hockey, okay, and I believe snowboarding. Now, I got to be honest with you. Those are 2 sports that I am looking the most forward to. Like when we get to the Winter Olympics, I love snowboarding, all of them, the half pipe, the downhill, the big air. I just love the snowboarding aspect of it. I love hockey. We all know this. I mean, I spent the fall as the leading goal scorer in the inline Morristown D6 league. So I know, no big deal. I know, I understand. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. So I understand. Okay. I get the game from a high level aspect. All right. No, I'm kidding. But nonetheless, hockey, women's and men's, snowboarding, big air, and pipe. Those 3 I very much look forward to. But what I love the most about the Olympics, and if you have not really thought about this in the last few days, start to get excited because now we have 3 straight weeks from February 6th to February 22nd where we can just actually all support the same thing in the United States of America. This is not a political show. We are not about to go down a political path, okay? Jelly Roll said something beautiful at the Grammys the other day when someone asked him about politics. He said, I'm just a dumb redneck. Now, is that a little harsh on himself? Sure. But the basis of that point is stay in your lane. You know what my lane is? My lane is sports, okay? So I'm going to stay in this lane. But I love the Olympics because it is the one time every 4 years, technically every 2 because the summer and the winter offset. Nonetheless, the one time every 4 years, every American's on the same page, I think. Go USA. Win the most amount of gold medals, represent our country to the world, show them that we're the greatest country in the world. Are we? Again, not getting political on that, and there's a real debate on that. But this is that 3-week stretch where people are proud of their country, or at least they should be, or at least these athletes give us a reason to forget the dumb crap that's going on our homeland right now all the time. So get yourself lost for a few weeks in just cheering for the red, white, and blue, cheering for these exceptional athletes. And by the way, hearing these phenomenal stories of the perseverance to get to the world stage, of the dedication to be the highest level athlete in the world. The perspective is this: if you make it to the final heat of a race and you are one of 8 remaining runners, let's say, I know it's the Winter Olympics, but easy example. You are one of the 8 best runners in the world. You could place 8th in that final. And in the world, you're the 8th best runner. That is ridiculous. In a world with 8s of billions of people. That's absurd. Just to get to the Olympics puts you in a 1% of a 1% of a 1%. Okay? So I urge the people out there, as they start to see it coming through on their NBC, get excited, baby. Red, white, and blue opening ceremonies on Friday. I cannot wait. The Rome Show will be your official location for all your Olympic coverage. I appreciate the people tuning in. It's been a blast. Hope you have an electric Wednesday. I'm Andrew Romanella. This is The Rome Show. Please, 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 please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Please, please, please hit that follow button on Twitter X and Instagram. I appreciate the people. Thank you for tuning in. Until tomorrow. Peace.
Thank you for listening.